Welcome one and all. Step right up and get your tickets for another moment in gaming history. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, welcome officially to the channel. This is a series where I go into various different moments in video game history, and today I want to talk about the early days of the arcade again. In particular, I want to talk about the earliest days of the racing genre. I know, we've talked racing a lot on this channel, and it's not even because I'm into racing games. They just seem to have the most interesting devices, as you can see by my Oddity series. However, in the history of this channel, as short as it is, I don't think I've ever once stopped and went, what was the first racing game? So I thought we would fix that today. So if you have a moment, sit down, chill out for a little while, maybe grab a snack, hang out, while we talk about the very first racing game. Now, this one, like many games around this era, has a few answers. One of the first is a game called Wipeout. Not the one you're thinking of. This one came out on the Magnavox Odyssey. This, honestly, I'm struggling a bit to get how... I'll be honest, I don't really understand how this works fully, but I'll do the best I can to explain it. This game used an overlay that you put on a TV to track the game, and a game board as well. One player, who is the driver, races around while the second player sits perched on an icon on the left, which looks like a clock. While the main driver follows the rather confusing path around the track, the second player hits the reset button on the driver's controller to send a ball spot from the right side to the left side to bounce off the player's spot on the clock icon. This oscillating ball spot would act as a time for player 1 to race around the track. For every oscillation, the player subtracts a lap from the player. A lap count which starts at 30. The idea is to make it around the track before the lap total is entirely off the screen. There's also some other objective related to collecting symbols and cards, but I'll be honest, this is confusing enough for me already. Odyssey games frankly required a bit of imagination and help from others, and given it's mostly a glowing square in a TV and a film overlay that's stuck to the TV to play the given game, it's kind of understandable. But, I mean, this also came out in 1972, so I have a hard time bagging on this one at all. It just simply is what it is. But for now, let's look at our other candidate, shall we? The next one comes from another really well-known name, Atari. The game, simply known as Grand Track 10, was released in 1974. However, instead of being designed by Nolan Bushnell, it was actually made by a company called Cyan Engineering. They were a semi-independent research and development subsidiary of Atari who had handled the prototype of a game called Gotcha that you may know of from this channel. Larry Emmons from Cyan Engineering worked up the circuits to control the car, making the feel of the braking, acceleration, and movement. You see, this was one of the earliest racing games to use a steering wheel and pedals, so this was all, well, new. This was also one of the first games to use an integrated circuit-based memory, a ROM if you will. The game itself was a single-player racing game in which the player would, race around a track, controlling the car with a steering wheel. They would use the brake and the gas to control the speed and shift gears like you would in a regular car. This game was honestly pretty simple, only really having one track and a timer. The timer would continuously count down. It could be set anywhere from 78 seconds all the way up to 105 seconds. On the left side was a counter that kept track of the number of checkpoints the player had gone through during their playtime, going up by 2 for each checkpoint. This may seem simple, but it was a pretty big step, not only in setting up controls that felt more like a car, but by giving you a legitimate track to race on as well. Both of these games are valid options, though I tend to lean more towards Grand Track 10 personally as my choice for the first racing game, as to me it looks more like a modern take and has a programmatically defined track. Interestingly enough though, Grand Track 10 is known more for being the game that almost killed Atari by putting them $500,000 in debt in 1974, roughly as much as the previous year's profits. This was due in part to the fact that they had multiple development problems with the game's development that delayed it and cost quite a bit to fix. However, which is your pick for this? Did any of you ever play either of these, and what did you think of them? Did you know racing games went this far back? Let me know in the comments. However, for now, thank you so much for spending part of your day with me. If I could ask you for one more favor, please leave this video a like. And if you haven't, consider subscribing. That really does help me out. For now, though, thank you once again, and until next time, happy gaming.